All right, hello gang. Let's get this party started. This is a little bit of a double stream we're working on. Here's hoping it's going all right, the technical part of all this thing. So I'm Josh Johnson. This is First Alert Weather Extra. That's our live discussion about all things weather. And we have a lot of things to discuss right now across the state as it relates to what's happening in the tropics, what's going on with Helene. So here is Helene. Helene is a monster hurricane. There's no way to sugarcoat that. The size alone, look at this. Clouds from Helene stretch literally from almost Central America all the way up into the Carolinas and Georgia. Now, those are not all directly part of the central part of the storm, but still, even if you just take that, it's a very large storm. The other thing I would point out to you about just sort of the orientation of Helene, notice the core is here, right? Look how far and bad the weather is east of that center of circulation and northeast of the center of circulation. That's where we're already starting to see some pretty rough stuff. West of the center, the amount of bad weather is smaller. It's not zero, but it is noticeably smaller. So that matters, right? That does make a difference in terms of what we're seeing with Helene and how it's going to impact you and the entire state of Alabama. Latest track in from the National Hurricane Center now has this up to Category 4 intensity. So obviously this is a big problem for us here in Central and South Alabama. We'll begin with that. This is that latest 4 o'clock advisory in from the National Hurricane Center. It has it as a Category 1 hurricane still, but it is strengthening. 85 mile per hour sustained winds. The pressure has dropped to 978 millibars. Remember, maybe you remember from high school science class, pressure and wind are inversely related, meaning when the wind goes higher, it's because the pressure went lower. So what we'll see happen over the next 24 hours, this pressure number is going to plummet way down there. I don't know how low it'll go. Some of the model data we've seen has been frankly crazy in terms of the strengthening of this thing. I am by just personality a conservative forecaster, but I've been telling you for a while now, I thought this could end up being kind of that Category 4, maybe even higher type hurricane. I still think that's the case. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong about that. But I don't think I am, because there's just not a lot out there that's going to really weaken this. So the National Hurricane Center now has this as explicitly stated as a Category 4 hurricane Thursday at 2 o'clock. Now, they issue their forecast in 12-hour increments. So what's happening here, they have it as a 130 mile an hour Category 4 hurricane Thursday at 2 p.m. Understand, as it is making that final approach inland here, close to Florida's Big Bend, a little on the west side of the Big Bend, they say explicitly in their latest discussion that it's probably still going to be strengthening. So, it's in the shot? Okay. I'm trying to do it on Facebook and on YouTube and on our apps. So, I wish I could control that camera. That would make this all a lot easier. So, that's not exciting. I don't even know how to go about fixing that right now that we've already hit the button. That's going to be tricky. Is it totally blocking everything? That's excellent. That's outstanding. Okay. Well, so you get to see our glamorous digital streaming setup here. We're just going to pick this up and bring it right back here. Okay. Look at that. Okay. Maybe that'll work. Maybe not. I don't know. We can zoom it in some. Well, this is going, we're just off the rails now. Maybe that. Yeah, maybe not really low. You can see most of it. And then that one is almost too low. Forgive me. The streaming era is a brand new world for all of us, including me. And I'm trying to do a little bit of everything. All right. I think we're ready to rock now. So the pause is over. And here we are. So Category 4 coming into shore. But understand, remember, this is valid at 2 o'clock on Thursday. There's going to be another 5 or 6 hours before it hits land, because latest projections have it hitting land sometime Thursday, 7, 8, 9 p.m. So there's a window here for some additional strengthening. Yeah, the Facebook folks can see it fine. It was the app folks that the ladder was in the way of. I thought that camera zoomed in past it, but I'm a meteorologist, not a photojournalist or a streaming expert, as it turns out. So there it is, Category 4. And it may go higher than this. This is 130, but remember the water up here, and I'm going to show you this in a moment, the water up here in the northern Gulf, really warm, toasty stuff. Then it moves on inland, and look at that. By the time the next forecast point arrives, it's 2 o'clock Friday morning, and we have an 80-mile-per-hour still hurricane just a tick east of Columbus, Georgia. Whew! That is bad, bad news, right? Now, for Alabama, if there's any saving grace at all, it is that we are on the western side. I think this is going to be an historic set of circumstances for Florida and Georgia. Catastrophic storm surge flooding, catastrophic wind damage in the Florida Big Bend region up through Tallahassee and on into South Georgia. I think we're going to see massive, and I'm talking not even hundreds of thousands, I'm talking millions of power outages in Florida and Georgia combined out of the storm at the peak of it, Thursday night. Millions. If we don't get to millions, it will only be because this misses a lot of population centers, right? Like in the state of Florida, this is a relatively not as populated. I'm not going to say unpopulated. Tallahassee's a big city, right? There are lots of towns in the way of this thing. But it's missing Orlando, Miami, Pensacola, Jacksonville, Tampa, some of those really big centers. Then it curves on towards the northwest after that, up through Georgia. Let me say this too. If you live in Atlanta, this is going to be maybe the worst hurricane of our generation for the city of Atlanta. Now, Atlanta sits in a place that's very well protected from most hurricanes. The doomsday scenario for Atlanta would be a fast-moving, very intense hurricane approaching from the south and tracking near or just west of the city. That is almost identical to the current National Hurricane Center trajectory on this. So my suspicion is this is going to be a big, big problem for the Atlanta metro area. Again, hundreds of thousands of power outages in the Atlanta metro, trees down, roads washed out in spots, that kind of thing. Not everywhere, right? This isn't going to happen no, it's not going to be every single house. It's not going to be every single neighborhood. But there will be pockets, I think, scattered all across the metro Atlanta area of really big problems. So just that's what we're kind of got going for us. So that's the track. So let's do a little analysis on this. Well, first, let me dive into this. These are the local impact maps that we've hand drawn. Now, these are not from a computer. These incorporate our weather team's breadth of education and experience, which matters. West of Montgomery, nuisance-style wind. Not much rain either. We'll get to that in a moment. But west of Montgomery, it's a breezy Thursday. It's a breezy Thursday night. It's a breezy Friday. It blows the trash can over. It blows the trash can lid off. It blows the patio furniture cushions around. If you have a pool, it blows your pool floats into the pool or into the neighbor's yard. That's about it, right? It's a nuisance. You notice it, but it's not the end of the world. East of Montgomery, there will be a buffer band here of that 30-plus mile-per-hour wind. Now, at that level, you could get some diseased, broken, weakened, damaged trees that fall and create sporadic power outages. It's the exception, not the rule, but that could happen in a few spots. Then you get over here along the Georgia border here, and it will depend on the precise track. For now, we're going to conservatively suggest 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts for most of East Alabama. I think it will go higher than that in Henry and Houston counties particularly, and maybe Geneva depending on the track. So the far southeastern corner, I expect some gusts depending on the track above 50 miles per hour. I think we would be closer to 40 to 50 once you get up to Eufaula and Auburn and Opelika. But still, that's enough. I fully anticipate tens of thousands of power outages Thursday into Thursday night in Lee and Russell and western Macon and western Bullock and western Pike and Barber and western Coffee and Dale and Henry and Houston and Geneva counties. Isolated power outages in the area outlined in orange and red here. So that would be Tallapoosa, Elmore, Coosa, eastern or western parts of Macon, western parts of Bullock, western Pike, Crenshaw, Covington. Then few, if any, power outages west of there. So the power situation would be notably better in the western counties of the state. How about rainfall? Again, it's not one size fits all. Some of these far eastern counties could get over half a foot of rain. That's more than we average in the entire month of September. And they could get it into Thursday night alone. Isolated flooding, roads could wash away, bridges could wash away, culverts will overflow, things like that. 2 to 4 inches from Clanton to Montgomery to Greenville to Andalusia. This would be kind of again, it's more nuisance. If you had a storm set up over the wrong spot for the wrong amount of time, some of those low-lying areas could flood, but it would be a lot more the exception and not the rule. Then you get to West Alabama, where it's really, again, a lot lighter. We're talking an inch or two for Selma down to Camden, and less than an inch west of there. And then, quite frankly, from Demopolis west, it may not even rain out of this thing. That's how different of an area we're covering right now, where West Alabama, rain chances are low. If you were to have any rain, it would be pretty brief, not terribly heavy. And then in East Alabama, we could be talking about some pretty significant flooding problems. So again, to emphasize, it's not one size fits all. The higher impacts by far come into eastern counties. So here it is, and I'll narrate this. I know it's hard to see. The day and time right here is Wednesday at 10 p.m. So that's tonight. Leftover rain we're already dealing with heads on into East Alabama, then moves into Georgia. We get a break. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, most of the rain is gone. Then let's see, Josh, I love you, but you guys are off. What are we off on? This is all playing out pretty much as advertised. Nothing that has happened has surprised me to this point. So we got it, I promise. Tomorrow, a lot of the day starts dry. Then as the morning unfolds, a large mass of rain overspreads east and central Alabama. Notice for a lot of you from Montgomery west, there's almost no rain tomorrow. That is expected. People are going to get on Facebook and YouTube and call me names and say I'm not good at my job because it didn't rain and you said there was a hurricane coming. That's in West Alabama. We expect that. I'm telling you now ahead of time. For a lot of you, it is not even going to rain on Thursday. The high impact situation here is in the eastern counties of the state, roughly along and east of U.S. Highway 231. The worst of it pivots in Thursday night. Again, it's the same thing though. East Alabama, it's pouring rain. The moon is out in Demopolis. So just let me re-emphasize that. This is not one size fits all. Timing it out by 4 o'clock Friday morning, it's starting to lift out. Still some pretty heavy rain up here along the 280 corridor. And then this is valid at 8 o'clock Friday. There's leftover clouds, but that's it. This is all zipping on out of here. So there you have it. Some questions. The cone of uncertainty looks like it moved a bit westward. It did. It moved a tiny bit westward. Let me show you this. This will, I think, hopefully give some of you some peace of mind about the westward jog. First off, we sort of expected that. We had accounted for some of that in our forecast already. We thought it was going to be stronger than Category 3. We had already accounted for that. So what's happening here, there's an upper trough that's digging in the jet stream, just like this. As the storm gets pulled towards the Big Bend, it is going to fill that trough and then make a turn back to the north and then the northwest. The timing on that is pretty well locked in. There's not really a lot of... This is making landfall in 26-ish hours, right? There's not a lot of wiggle room in timing this trough out. We see it already. It's going to slide right in there, and it's going to initially, there's a surface cold front that's causing the rain today. That is going to keep this on an eastward trajectory almost until landfall. It doesn't start that turn to the due north, and it doesn't start to fill the upper trough until it is within 6 hours of landfall. So the landfall point, could it come west slightly? Sure, but no more than 25 miles, right? There's just not a lot of wiggle room in this because of the cold front that's draped across us now almost is like a little bit of a blockade, at least initially. Now understand, as the storm moves north, the upper trough digs in and begins to sort of pull it around it. So it's almost like these two dancers kind of rotating around each other, and eventually they sort of absorb. And that's what will happen here. It's called a Fujiwara effect if it ever comes up on Jeopardy. So chances of pop-up tornadoes, almost zero. We're on the western side. That's good news. Okay, some storm analysis here. We're up to 5:53. I've got about 3 more minutes, and then we've got to get our prep finalized for WSFA 12 News at 6, which you can stream, by the way. For those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, you can stream that on the First Alert Weather app or the News app. Or if you have a smart TV, fire it up, go to wherever you get your apps and search WSFA. You can stream it live there, too. That also comes in handy if you're out and about and we have severe weather. You can stream our severe weather coverage on your app as well. So, do you think we'll have tropical force winds and rain in Opelika? Yes, I do. I think that is quite possible. 30 to 40 miles per hour would be the case there. This better not mess up Georgia and Alabama game. It will not. This is all long gone. By Friday at lunchtime, the sun's coming out in South Alabama, and by Friday afternoon, the sun's out in most of the state. Okay, so before we get into news time, I want to zip here into the mesoscale sector, infrared satellite imagery. This gives us a really good look in really high resolution data. It's a smaller grid, but the data is top notch. Couple of trends we're seeing here. There is still a little dry air on the northern side of this thing, but we're starting to see that center of circulation reform a bit. It's right here, right out in this part of the world right here. Hard to see that X. I know it's a red marker, but right in there is where your center of circulation is located right now. Notice on the northern side of it, you don't see as much orange and red, right? That's a little bit of that dry air working on in there. We can actually see it. We'll stay in the mesoscale sector here and go over the water vapor. You can actually make it out better there. See all the green down here? That's pure moisture. Hurricanes love that. Those little non-green streaks, they're kind of blue, wrapping into the center. That's a little bit of dry air. So it's not enough to save the day, but it might be enough to at least delay the strengthening. So that's how that goes. See, the problem you run into is it's going to eventually wrap all this around and close off the dry air. And then it goes gangbusters. No other way to put it. The issue becomes your sea surface temperatures out here. And there's more to hurricanes than the sea surface temperature, but this is not just warm water. It is really deep warm water. That matters too. There's not much wind shear out here. This is going to end up being a Category 4 or higher hurricane as it makes its final approach into the coast Thursday night. So again, landfall Thursday night, 8 o'clock or so, on the west end of the Big Bend of Florida. That is all far east of Panama City, Destin, 30A, Mobile, Gulf Shores, all those places. They'll be having an offshore wind. It will be rainy and very windy in those places. Rough surf, deadly rip currents. Swimming in the Gulf of Mexico would be a catastrophically stupid idea all week. But it's not going to be a devastating storm for those places. It will be a devastating storm for Appalachia Bay, the Big Bend, Tallahassee, South Georgia. It will be an impactful storm in East Alabama. Generally speaking, if you draw a line from about Anniston to Alex City, to Dothan or Geneva. That easternmost section of the state, high impact there. For the rest of us, it is a lower kind of a situation. It will be just rain and wind, quite frankly, from Montgomery and points west. It's just sort of raining, just sort of windy. All right, I'm going to wind this thing down. I appreciate you as always. Thanks so much for being with us today on this special edition of First Alert Weather Extra. I think this is the first time ever I've streamed live on all of our apps, Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So thank you for your patience with my rearranging of the ladder photo shoot there. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.